welcome to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. I'm your host, Louis Padian. I hope that you're doing well and are enjoying the podcast and the topics we've covered so far. These podcasts are released every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening to be kept up to date. So today we are covering 7 things to consider to find the right gym for you. Now, why would we want to discuss this? This is important because what I don't want as someone who has worked in gyms previously is who cares about people's health and well-being and wanting people to live as healthy and happy as life as possible is that when we want people to go to these gyms are everywhere now and we know they can help your health, we want people to actually use them, and these 7 things can be really important things to consider before you sign up. One of the things that was really sad to see as a PT was when people turned up. We used to do gym inductions, that we'd do their induction, they'd be so keen, be really excited, have a great first session, we show them all the machines, and then you'll see them maybe the next day, a couple of days later, really excited still, and then eventually that enthusiasm wore off and their attendance sort of disappeared as well. And potentially if they considered these things, then potentially that wouldn't have happened. One of the things that actually, when I was looking into this, is it matches my experience really, that when you speak to most people, they've got gym memberships, and a 2018 survey said that 67% of Americans have a gym membership, but only 20% of them actually use the gym membership. So that's a minute amount, and it's a huge amount of money and expense going to waste. And we know that gyms can be a great place not only to gain muscle, to exercise, but just for your overall health and well-being and creating that community and giving some purpose to your day. And when looking at this as well, that we know going to the gym is associated with lower risks of chronic diseases, and also when I looked into this, that actually going to the gym is associated with high levels of self-esteem and life satisfaction, which is really interesting to see. So it goes beyond just lifting weights and going on the treadmill. Actually, it has a greater impact outside in your day-to-day life as well. So let's jump into the 7 things to consider. The first one for me that is actually a really important one and often people overlook is the financial cost or commitment. So gyms vary in price, that we know. There's some that are cheap as chips, $9.99 a month, cancel anytime you want, and then there's other ones that hundreds of pounds a month. I've attended both gyms. I've worked in a variety of gyms as well, and that all depends on what they offer, what they want to sort of perceive themselves as, and they may have different tiers within that as well, which might include different levels of access. I worked at a David Lloyd, for example, where they had off-peak membership during the daytime work time hours. People could only attend during those hours and couldn't attend before 8 a.m. and after 5 or 6 p.m. So that made it a bit cheaper for people who could attend during that time. But actually, if you want to go early in the morning or after work, then you're probably going to end up paying a lot more at those gyms. But with that sort of gym, that included all access, a sauna, and there was lots of different tiers within this that some people could spend a ridiculous amount of money to get tennis lessons included, plus PT, plus sort of special sauna and steam room access to a premium one that wasn't accessible for a lot of people. So there's lots of different price points within certain gyms as well, but it's a common sticking point. And another thing to consider there is, yes, the financial costs, but also the commitment. So you can do monthly rolling, you can do a yearly fee at a lot of gyms. You can have add-ons within certain gyms as well, which might include sort of personal training sessions, but some of them might actually have minimum terms. And I've signed up to gyms before with 12 minimum terms that worked out at a decent price. But if you wanted the flexibility of cancelling earlier, then you had to pay more per month. So weighing up that pro and con is really important, and often something that people do consider, but actually weighing up the minimum terms, the additional fees they're going to use, the petrol going back and forth. And that leads us nicely on to sort of our second point, which is the convenience element. So potentially, in my opinion, this is the biggest thing to consider. Is it convenient for you? And like we said, a lot of people who have gym memberships don't actually use them, and probably a big part of that is convenience. And I looked into this and I found a really interesting study from 2020 or 2020 that people who live within a mile of their gym, which is bloody close, are actually more likely to use their gym memberships than those who live further away. And it was significantly different as well. And that's quite close in my opinion. A lot of people, I'd say within 5 miles, it's a simple commute. But it's another barrier to stop you going. And it's important that you can factor that into how you're going to feel when you want to go. If you want to go to the gym first thing before work, which is often what I did, when it's that cold November morning and you're getting up at 5:45 to go to the gym and it's icy outside, going, oh, well, it's going to take me an extra 20 minutes to get there, a half an hour drive to get there. You might enjoy that drive, but it's potentially another barrier to you actually attend that gym regularly. And we know it's a habit, as most habits. The more you go, the more you flex that muscle of that habit, the more likely you are to keep on doing it long term. Another thing to consider, as I mentioned that, would be the opening hours. So is the gym going to be open when you want? And this is an important thing to consider, because actually having a look at what's on when you want to go as well. Often when I went to a Nuffield Health, I think it was, or Ballantyne's, if I was wanting to use the pool first thing in the morning, actually I was pretty busy in the morning with lots of people practicing their swimming and swimming lots of distance. It was a really busy place. So checking if it's going to be busy when I want to use those facilities as well, which is an important thing. But if you want to go, one of the biggest selling points for a lot of gyms is that they're 24-hour access, but realistically, most gyms are open when people are going to use them. You don't need to use it unless you work night shifts and during the time off or anything like that. You might not use it, or you probably won't use it at midnight at night. So is that benefit that they're trying to sell you actually really a benefit for you? And quite a lot of gyms now, I know Pure Gym and I know JD, when we used it, could tell you how many people were in the gym at certain times, and that can be a really useful thing to sort of look at consistently and see if there's a better time for you to go where it might be a bit quieter. After that, it's important to get your head in there and actually explore the facilities. Ask for a tour, go have a look around, see what bits of equipment there are, see how many pieces of certain equipment there are as well. Common bits of equipment that are hard to get by. I remember in JD, which was a really big gym, the assisted chin-up machine and dip machine, there was only one, but yeah, treadmills, there was 25, 30 of them. So if you're looking for that bit of equipment, have a look around and see if there's variations of that equipment for you as well, because you might not have it to yourself. The gym might be quite busy, and have a look at there's alternatives for you to use as well. One thing around this, when you're having a look around, I'd plan on going for your tour when you're planning on going to use the gym, so you can get a feel for what it's like. Is there a class going on? Is the gym floor busy? Are certain bits of equipment busy? Is it a ghost town? Is there staff around in case you need any help? And these are all important things to recognise. Often when I was a PT at David Lloyd, we'd have people coming on Saturday morning and we'd do an induction with them, and I'd ask them when they'd like to come in. They go, oh, Monday mornings, and it's a totally different feel for the place on a Monday morning versus a Saturday. So I'd advise them to come in and make sure they're comfortable with that, because service might not be free at that time. And we would try and tailor their plan, their induction plan, towards stuff that could add a bit more flexibility to it. So showing them more options. If they're coming during the day potentially, and that's what they're planning to do anyway, then probably don't need to be as flexible, because it's probably a lot quieter during the day, potentially. And well, in my experience, it was. So ensuring that you're attending the gym on your induction, having a look around, getting a feel for the place, having a look at the condition, all the facilities that you want to use. So checking out the change rooms, the showers, if you're going to be using that, checking out the car park as well, that you feel comfortable leaving your car there. All these things factor in to potentially being a barrier later on down the line if you haven't checked it out, to you not using it. And we want you to get the most out of this membership or you attending the gym. Next up from that, similar to the sort of tour around, was one of the biggest things that I've found that really disappoints me with the fitness industry is the fact that they've removed inductions from a lot of gyms, where you don't get a walkthrough and everything. And I've delivered lots of one-to-one inductions, and also working in other gyms as well that have multiple sites. Part of my job was going around and going to people's accommodation that had a gym. They'd have to have an induction before they were allowed to use it as part of their sort of tenancy agreement within the flats. So I found that really useful. And I think a lot of people got an opportunity to ask a lot of questions there. And I think one of the biggest things that the fitness industry has done wrong is taking that away. I would make it mandatory personally. And I know some people might be rolling their eyes going, well, it seems like a waste of time. It shouldn't be. It should be a great opportunity for you to go, right, show me exactly how to get this piece of equipment set up. I've always seen that and I don't know how to set it up. Can you show me? And PTs like myself are usually quite keen to share that knowledge, because we don't want to intimidate people. We don't interrupt people. And if we see someone who might feel very self-conscious or not very approachable, using a bit of equipment, and we think, oh, maybe they can make some tweaks to get the most out of it. We might not have that conversation because it might come off that we're being quite condescending, or we're telling them that they don't look like they don't know what they're doing. So actually having that one-to-one time with the PT, or one to a small group of you, can be a really great opportunity to ask those questions that probably everyone else wants to ask as well, but probably isn't brave enough to ask. But also get an idea for your program and get a feel for that person as well. So when I was at David Lloyd, we used to have, it was a mandatory sort of thing, or one that wasn't mandatory but would be sort of insisted by reception, that someone signed up to the gym, don't worry, we'll get a personal trainer to sit down with you. And it would give us a good opportunity to get to know them, get them comfortable on the gym floor, but also they'd get a program included as well. So we'd sit down, walk them through their program, get an idea of what they want to achieve. And that was for 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks they could book in another one of those as well. And a lot of people did, because it was a great opportunity to get a bit of structure. So they turn to the gym, they've got the plan, they can write it all down. It was a nice little booklet. We discuss their goals, discuss what barriers, put a plan of action to stuff outside the gym. It was a really, really good overall service, which I really enjoyed and thought there was a huge amount of value. And I think a lot of other gyms could benefit from that as well. So in my opinion, as someone who's worked in the fitness industry for nearly a decade or a decade, then I'd suggest that if you can get an induction with your gym membership, a lot of them might just write it in the terms and conditions that it's included, but might not push it. I'd sign them to it if you can, because it's a great opportunity to spend some time with someone who really is familiar with that area, not just the gym in general, but the equipment within that gym in particular. A bit of research behind this actually found that people who had or received personalised attention from staff at a gym were more likely to use their memberships and achieve their fitness goals. So that sort of works with reality to me, that actually people who asked more questions, who built rapport with the staff, or staff built rapport with them, were more likely to achieve their fitness goals, and because it's just a nicer environment to come to. And another study as well, 2017, is that people who used a personal trainer were more likely to still be attending the gym after a year than those who didn't, which I thought was an interesting bit of research, because that person who's had that PT session, actually, you might think, well, are they still seeing that PT? They might not have, but actually a lot of people who I worked with, we just got them familiar with the principles of training. When in the very start of this podcast, we spoke about principles and methods that we showed them. And this is something that I do with a lot of my clients, is I want to teach you everything that I know and just give you all, make sure you understand it. And if you turn around to me one day and go, great, Louis, I think I understand everything that I need to know, and I'm happy to go by myself, then I've done my job. That's what I've always said, is that I just want you to feel confident, competent in the gym. And that might take a couple of months of personal training where you get the benefits, you learn how to do all these movements, you learn about progressive overload and things to focus on during certain movements. You learn how different movements can be swaps for each other. So if you're only familiar with the same 4 machines, then, oh, somebody's on the lat pull down, what can I do? Well, actually, this other pull down machine, or there's a row that's quite similar, still a pulling movement, but it's a horizontal one, not a vertical one. And that'll probably be a good substitute for this session. So us teaching you those bits throughout the PT sessions, whilst you're also probably getting better results, because you're getting that focus time, you've got that accountability with someone, and you're probably getting that support outside the gym as well, with stuff around your habits, your nutrition, your sleep, your overall social well-being, and focusing on all those aspects, then it only is going to be a beneficial to you further down the line, because you're going to keep those tidbits as we go. A really poor PT will sort of safeguard all their secrets. Actually, a really good PT won't just overload you with information, but they'll know what bits of information to give you when. And as you get better and better, will continue to give you bits and to actually teach you how to do these things. Like the old adage is, give man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. If you teach man to fish, you'll never have to give him another one. Can't remember the end of that, but we'll roll with it. Anyway, so have an induction or a PT, is that included? I think that's a huge worthwhile investment for a lot of people, and they really undermine the actual benefits you can get from having that individualized one-to-one time and support, and getting a really good PT or a really good induction is a huge part of that. So next on the list, we're on number 6 already. So this is comfort and atmosphere. So a big part of this is, do you feel comfortable in the environment? Do you feel intimidated? Do you feel that the staff are welcoming? And this can be a really, really big indicator of whether you're going to turn up regularly. If you're looking forward to it, if you know so-so is going to be on reception, or that PT is always there, and actually we've built a rapport, and it's not even about fitness, it's, I know that he supports so-and-so, and we can have a chat about that, or he might be catching the Rugby World Cup that's on the moment, and we can have a bit of a chat about that. All these things add up to you attending more regularly. one of the biggest things that is part of this is the atmosphere in there. If you feel that it's not for you, then the gym's not doing its job, because we want gyms to be an inclusive environment for people. And a interesting study that I found as well from 2021 was that gym members who have a positive social experience at the gym are more likely to use their memberships and stay motivated, which makes sense. But it is so important that you feel comfortable, that you want to go there, and you have a good rapport with everyone who's there, other members as well. And it doesn't mean that you have to be best friends with everyone, but actually creating a really positive environment as a gym, can have a huge impact on people's success, people maintaining their memberships, but also people just feeding on that environment and giving more to it and attracting the right people. So ensuring that you're happy with it, that you're getting a good feel from the people there, that people have got similar sort of values to you, is super important. Similarly to that, I know a lot of gyms focus on this, and we'll touch on it more in the next point, but if you feel like you belong to a community, then you're more likely to actually attend that community and sort of fall in line with those values. And this was backed up by a study in 2020 that I found. So find your vibe, find your tribe is a phrase that I like. And I've got some friends who run gyms who are super successful, and they've built a really tight-knit community that gets people to not only just get there and exercise, but support each other and support causes that are bigger than the gym or outside the gym as well. We've seen this in CrossFit that has actually been really successful, is creating that environment that people feel welcome, they feel comfortable, but they also have a common goal, they have shared values, they have shared experiences, and you can learn from them as well. So potentially that's something that you want to consider, is actually, is this a community that I want to be part of? And with that, and in that, having a friend there or at the gym already will make you more likely to attend. So having potentially someone there, an accountability buddy or somebody within that community that you're already close with, just gives you a feel for the actual atmosphere of the place, the community element. And if you haven't got that in already, then a good thing actually is looking at reviews online of the actual gym, and not just the positive stuff, but seeing if there is any sort of middle ground sort of views on it, that people who might not have felt welcome or didn't quite click with it, sort of getting a bit more of a rounded perspective, because gyms will love to shout how good they are. And I know some really good gyms, and I also know that there's some really poor gyms that I've attended in the past, and it's not many, there's only a handful, and some of them are poor for different reasons. But actually having that accountability, that community, but also that trust in other people's experiences and learning from them can help you make a better decision or not, whether you feel comfortable within the gym or part of that community. Lastly, but not least as well, is a different style. So I've mentioned on there around CrossFit things, but whether you want to be part of a gym that is just an open gym, so that's sort of like your normal Pure Gym, your David Lloyd, where you just turn up when you want, you pay your membership or turn up within your membership means, and you sort of do what you want. There's other gyms that might have certain classes as well, that you turn up and do classes, and they can be combined as well. So you might have like a Pure Gym where you do your open gym, but also there's classes that you can attend and book into. There might be some smaller studios which can be really beneficial. I would say to look into them. They can be more expensive, but someone's like a group PT, and I've run sessions like that before, where it's a handful of people, maybe 2 or 3. It might be a group of friends, and the PT, instead of it being a one-on-one, which can potentially be more expensive, splitting that cost between 3 of you or 2 of you allows you to get a really good session, plus the support of a PT, plus that accountability from a friend, and that can be a hugely beneficial model as well. Or you can go for the one-to-one model, where people just get that one-to-one support and have that tailored approach. And I can feel that I've delivered various ones of these. I've delivered classes, group. I've been a PT on the open gym floor, and I've delivered lots of one-to-one sessions as well, remotely, online, and also in person as well. They all have their pros and cons, and you need to know what's going to work best for you, whether you feel that having someone there one-to-one who is expecting you at a certain time, and you meet them, you have your session, they might give you a bit more personalized support with regards to stuff outside the gym. But you might find, if it's a person working from a small studio, for example, that actually you are only paying for those PT sessions, you're not paying for gym access outside of those hours, which is something to consider, that you might actually need a second gym membership outside of that if you want to go to a gym. So lots of things to consider, lots of pros and cons with that, different price points, and can vary across different locations as well. So there's quite a lot to consider there. But I thought it was important to do this as someone who's worked in gyms for so many years, had really positive experience on both sides, and also some drawbacks, and helped people get past these barriers. And when I've caught up with people, potentially haven't seen them for a couple of months, might give them a ring and they say, oh, well, it's not working my schedule at work at the moment. And just coming up with these different barriers that often stop people utilizing these memberships before people sign up can hopefully save you a lot of heartache in the long run, and hopefully get you better results. And again, enjoying the gym. We know it's fantastic for you. It's not the only place that you can do exercise. There's so many places, but it's a common one. And whether you want to listen to this again around Christmas when you sign up for a gym in January could be a good option. But the things to consider would be sort of the financial cost and the commitment, convenience element as well. How often is it convenient for you to go there? The opening hours, make sure they match you, and the sort of days of the week that match you're going to be using it for. The facilities, not only the facilities that are there, but the facilities that are available when you intend to go. An induction, if it's included, from my side, I would always recommend someone to have an induction if they're feeling a bit apprehensive. They're not someone who's been training for 5-10 years, who's almost a sort of at a level of where their knowledge is the level of a PT. Anybody who is not well read up on the sports science, strength training literature, nutrition literature, can really benefit from having someone there to support them who does, but also someone who knows this gym, this facility in particular, inside out, can be really beneficial. So definitely something that I'd recommend. Are you comfortable? Is there an atmosphere there that you're enjoying? Is it part of a community that you want to sort of become a part of, share your values, have a shared goal, shared struggles? That can be really useful. And then last but not least, the different styles of that gym. So is it an open gym? Is it a one-to-one? Is it a sort of semi-private PT gym? Is it classes in particular? All these things, figuring out what works best for you. So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or would like to reach out to me, please do. I am at Louis Padian Nutrition, which is at LOUISPADIAN Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you're looking for support in achieving your goals and living a healthier, happier, and more balanced life in the process, click the link below and inquire about working with me. Remember to subscribe to the Balanced Approach podcast wherever you're listening for more insightful episodes, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.